So maybe it's not wise to be recording this during game five of an American League Championship Series because we are on opposing teams. And as we started recording, Seattle just hit a home run to go
Mm.
up 1-0, which benefits me. I'm a Mariners fan, of course. You cannot see this, but I'm actually wearing a Kraken hat right now. I don't know where my Mariners hat is. It's been a while since I have followed their exploits, but I've really fallen in love with them over the last month or so. Once again, kindling a love that I've had since I was first going to the Kingdom to watch games back when they had the blue and yellow motif in the 70s. So opening home runs, of course, do not mean anything in the series because
Hmm.
two games so far, team that has had an opening home run has ended up losing the game. The saying goes, you don't really have a series until the road team wins. All four games have been won by the road team. So, Moisés, apparently I think we have a series, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, like I mentioned to you in text, look, we get along and we have our preferences, but like I think the notion of having gentlemanly diverging views on teams in a matchup like this, I feel
Mhm.
like it should be defined by the way that we have handled this, where when my Jays score on the very first pitch of the series, I'm like, well, I'm not going to gloat about this. That'd be rude. I feel
Because where
like
did
it
that happen?
I feel like that landed well enough just with the way that it happened. But I mentioned to you,
Where
so
where where did it happen though? Where
where
did we witness that together? Did we not?
we witnessed that exactly together, where
It was in the press box
it was in the press box while a soccer game
during a
was going
game
on. Yeah, I mean,
that we were covering.
we were paying full attention the entire time to the soccer game. Let's
We were paying 90% attention.
95 most of the time. Look, let's not be over generous.
Baseball's slow.
You know what,
You can
Phil?
you can tune out for large stretches of baseball, as it turns
So,
out.
to quote my mother, as the Blue Jays scored their 13th run the other night, this is boring. And sometimes that's what I love about baseball, right? Phil, I think I figured out what our next bonus episode
Night.
should be so that people don't get on our cases about talking about nothing but baseball on a soccer podcast. We should talk about this whole thing. But to tease when we eventually do that, the reason I'm a Blue Jays fan is that the Texas Rangers, who were my home team, decided in the 93 offseason that it behooved them to bring in Will Clark and let Baltimore have Rafael Palmeiro, Cuban American, the kind of Cuban American baseball player that for me I wanted to follow, as opposed to a Jose Canseco, who even then was kind of nuts. And so I decided, well, I need a different team because I can't believe in this guy George W. Bush, who is the managing partner of my club anymore, even though I went to Nolan Ryan's last game, even though I had the shirts and the hats. I was a young kid looking for a new team, and guess who won the
So you had the
World
bona
Series?
fides.
Yeah, I had the bona fides.
Yeah.
Guess who won the World Series that year? A team whose mascot was a bird that regularly visited my backyard, the Toronto Blue Jays. And
A bird
I
with a
have,
maple leaf sticking out of its ear.
I have ever since identified as a Blue Jays fan, enraging my classmates growing up in North Texas, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Which is the only time Blue Jays have ever enraged someone.
Emergency podcast. Verde did a thing, so we gotta talk about it. Emergency podcast. It's an emergency. Emergency podcast. Shut up, oh yeah, shut up, oh yeah, shut up. Emergency podcast. It's an emergency.
Hey, a hearty hello to you all, and welcome to Emergency Podcast, the Austin FC podcast, where we talk about all the Austin FC emergencies. It is decision day. I have a cold, which is, I think, the result of going to ACL and being with 75,000 people.
Well, Phil, we've got to specify. You have a cold. It is not a COVID cold. You took the test.
It's not a COVID cold. I tested that before.
Let's break HIPAA for just a second and say it's not COVID.
on my behalf, sure.
On your behalf, it's not COVID. It's just a cold. I don't want people making accusations. Phil's out there super spreading. Nope. Phil is being responsible. Phil's a pillar of the community.
And yeah, I couldn't possibly get COVID because I got vaccinated, right? So that's how that works. So yes, Moisés, how are you doing? Decision day that means absolutely nothing for Austin FC, although we will be finding out by about 10 p.m. here on Saturday, as you were listening to this. who Austin's going to face in the 2025 MLS playoffs first round. They have successfully avoided the play-in game. They cannot be any higher than sixth. They cannot be any lower than sixth. They are resolutely in sixth place, and they're going to face the third place team. There are 81 different possibilities as to how that can happen, and we looked at every single one of them.
Well, you got 81 scenarios. I feel bad for you, son, because at the end of Saturday, there's only going to be one. It is a giant field of different things. And we were talking about being gentlemanly with disagreements and that sort of thing. But, you know, my Lord West, I do have to take issue. I think there is definitely something to play for. I think there is, in terms of results and table placement and that sort of thing, what Austin does not matter, but what does matter is something that, to me, we had a very brief press conference from Nico Estevez and John Gallagher, the featured player this week, for
very brief
purposes. Very brief.
8 minutes between the two.
Yeah, it was very short, but frankly, look, I don't think they all need to be 20 minutes long. There isn't always 20 minutes of stuff to talk about. And I think that the thing that they have to play for is something that they both touched on, which is you need to get that rhythm going. You need to get that away game energy ready to upset somebody in their own house, if not once, twice, if it takes that. And I think even though we got what people could consider perfunctory answers, these are the perfunctory answers that I want to hear. This is exactly what they need to be showing up and saying, because that's what they need to be doing. They need to be getting ready to prove themselves and show that not only did they make the playoffs, but make the playoffs mean something. Nico has said multiple times and reiterated it on Thursday that playoffs mean a big thing to Americans. In American sports, playoffs, not just making them, but making something out of them, is a big thing in American sports. And to me, that is not lip service. That is absolutely an intention to upset teams that people, including teams that Austin supporters may think are fully superior to Austin and that Austin stands absolutely no chance against. I think that that's the right mentality to go into the playoffs with, is we are here to upset people. We are here to go as deep as we are capable of going. And I think that the benefit they have is similar to something that I brought up both in the newsletter and that I've mentioned on the show, where Brian Schmetzer went into the weekend before decision day and decision day with the freedom to rest people as he needed to, with the freedom to go, I've got guys out injured or questionable, and I don't need to rush them back into service, potentially re-aggravating or worsening existing injuries, so that they can try to take their battle-worn Club World Cup playing squad into the playoffs and make a deep MLS Cup run, which, I don't know, they got a lot of injuries. They got a lot of banged up guys. It could be that the long attrition-based slog that is the MLS season is something that we saw a great Sounders throughout the weekend, throughout the season, but this weekend, what version of the Sounders is going to show up? And the first weekend of the playoffs, what version of the Sounders is going to be able to show up? And I think that what Austin has to play for is Osman Bukari is questionable. Brandon Vasquez is out. Diego Rubio is out. Vasquez, of course, we knew about. But that Austin comparatively has one guy questionable and one guy injured of those expected to theoretically be available on decision day is frankly a much better situation than loads of other teams in the league have, both in the East and the West. So that's my rant on what they have to play for. I think
arguably playing on the worst pitch in the league.
Why'd you have to bring it up, Phil? It's like Beetlejuice. It gains power from being mentioned.
We're kind of jumping ahead here to talk about San Jose in our little show rundown, so that is fine. Let's go ahead again. Yeah, so Austin, I mean, they could rest theoretically. Mathematically, they could get to 50 points with a win, which would be interesting, which would be an interesting milestone, but probably meaningless in the grand scheme of things. Here is what San Jose has to do in order to qualify. So no matter what, they have to beat Austin. That's the first step. Somehow San Jose in this last game, in their 34th game of the season, is still in playoff contention, which we did not think was going to happen by this point, even a few weeks ago. Colorado losing or drawing against LAFC, and Salt Lake losing at St. Louis, or Colorado losing or drawing versus LAFC and Dallas losing at Vancouver. That seems like a likely scenario. And then Salt Lake losing at St. Louis and Dallas losing at Vancouver would be able to do that. So we're going to get San Jose's best, clearly, because I assume they want to be in the postseason. They fought, they've scrapped through, they have avoided elimination for this long. So that kind of concerns me a little bit. And again, obviously, we're going to go into this in a second, but two of the three possibilities that Austin has for the playoffs will take them right back to traveling to California in that first round, hosting here, and then possibly a third game based in California based on how those go. So they're going to get used to those West Coast trips with this, which is good. They're going to prepare for Pacific time and all that. Of course, we are going to fall back somewhere in there as well. The morning. Well, we don't know. We don't know when the game is going to be.
We don't know when for
actually
certain the stretch of 3 is actually going to happen. Thanks to
could be the
LAFC.
Saturday, could be the Monday. Apparently, the 3rd is a possibility.
That's the thing that is coming through. Not just the reliable oracle that is Seth Rao has mentioned it. I don't think he would mind me naming him, but
mystery
have indicated that depending on decision day results, Austin's home match could very well be on Monday the 3rd, which seems unideal.
The day after we've fallen back. It's going to be extra dark.
Does not feel like maybe the best way to plan things. And hey, when that change to the European schedule finally comes through, we're not going to have to worry about any of this because everything
except for
will
the regular
be
season.
Oh, don't even get me started. We'll have a whole other batch of problems to deal with, and not competing with October baseball and competing with college football starting and the NFL and all that kind of thing. Something that I wanted to mention about, do we want to cover San Jose, or I want to make sure that I'm not stepping across time and space in advance.
The thing them though.
The thing I wanted to bring up about them is that in advance of knowing where things stand as we know them right now going into decision day, there are varying opinions about all kinds of things. And I've become very open to acknowledging different takes on what is good, what is best, what is the best version of this team for Austin to face, for example. And there was an opinion out there of, well, it would be better for Austin to have something to fight for on decision day. And I can totally acknowledge the validity of that take. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to an Austin-San Jose matchup, the dynamic that I think is better for the health and safety of the Austin players is San Jose being on the back foot and having to do everything that they can to possibly win, so that Austin is capable of, look, if it means protecting Mikel Dessler from a side that during the course of a match may suddenly have nothing to play for and decide to get revenge on a player who they perceive to have done them a grievous sin earlier in the season. I think that it is better for Austin to be able to just take him out of the match at any moment that they need to, rather than have to face some of the chaos that I know you can speak to, like historically, probably right off the top of your head, better than I could, about really crazy decision day grudge match level stuff that I would equate with the Zidane headbutt that is just nasty for the sake of being nasty.
And we don't also know the recovery from the hamstring injury, right? That's still something. So we might see him up here limited and then maybe leave around 55 or 60, which would be just fine with me.
Yeah. And Jean Kolmanich mentioned that he's been nursing hamstring issue when we saw him in the locker room last weekend. And you want to conserve that guy. When people were like, why didn't we see him in the Open Cup final? That's why. That's why. Yeah. As something that I do want to give the club due credit for, they have gotten more open and more readily like on the front foot with providing information about things, about plans and strategies and everything. I mean, I think back to that preseason practice that press and supporters were invited to, where we got to see the blueprint for this is how Austin intends to play this entire season. And it wasn't the locked mystery box thing. There's been so much more of that sort of direct thing. And I would cite Laurel Fowler wrote this really wonderful, really blunt, really straight ahead piece about the importance of being forthcoming with things. And I think that we can honestly say at this point, compared to press who cover other specific clubs in MLS, we do have it better than a lot of them do. But that isn't to say that there aren't more things that can be done as we felt things open up, as we have felt the level of comfort get more comfortable. I'm confident, and this is not how I felt a year ago. Certainly not the way that I felt in 2023. I am confident that this club, with the sporting direction centric rather than coach centric approach that they have taken, is much more dedicated to leaving certain doors and side gates open and making sure that responsible reporting can happen. There's still progress to be made, but I'm actually optimistic about it. And I can honestly say I didn't feel that way 365 days ago.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And look that up if you can find that. So she does coverage on her own now for FC Cincinnati, and she also covers the Bengals, I believe, for the Inquirer, and is saying basically it is way easier and she has way more access to NFL players than MLS players, which is weird because you would think with MLS being this league that is still trying to get fans, you would think that there's this kind of ambassadorial quality to that. And that is not necessarily her experience. Of course, she has also suffered a little bit of a ban as a result of just doing her job in the club. So that's still something that I'm sure probably still sticks with her. That's probably coloring her experience of covering MLS as well.
Like, speaking for our perspective, we're getting to talk to Owen Wolf, and we didn't get to. We're getting more than just Brad Stuver and Ethan Finley, which is what it felt like for the longest time when it comes to players that they make available when things don't go well. And even players that have just generally been reluctant to talk have been encouraged to get to know us better, build a rapport with us. And that has definitely had a knock-on effect to the level of coverage that we and other accredited outlets have been able to provide, where it's not that we're like in the tank for the team, but certainly it is a lot more pleasant and interesting to be covering a mid-table team on the rise than a mid-table team that is falling below the playoff line and doesn't seem to know its way forward. That market change in the overall production, in the overall performance of the club, looking at the long siege that is the MLS season and giving us some more trust than they have in the past, it's something that has made it so much easier to contextualize what is going on instead of just going, well, Phil, I don't know. Let's just make up some stuff and hopefully it's one of those three things.
Yeah, going to the locker room, I mean, this year having that access has been helpful. I mean, of course, like last weekend against LAFC, it's like, oh, not a lot of you are in here anymore and there's not really anybody to talk to. And that happens sometimes, but compare that to last year, where last year, people would just kind of disappear who should have been talking. And it was left to a few people like you were talking about, Stuver, Finley, Ring, they would all kind of step up. But this year we've had much more of an assortment. We had mid-season kind of the wonderful Ilie teaching moment where he just kind of took us and gathered us all up. And we had this kind of back and forth. It's like Jesus and the apostles. I mean, that might be, I don't know if that's too much of a metaphor to throw in there, but it kind of had that feeling.
I still want his podcast. He has such a wonderful and practiced tone of things that just, he so incredibly uniquely gets it. I think that MLS will be very, very lucky to have him remain part of the conversation even once he stops playing, because he gets it so well. And he's shown such an acumen for nurturing young players, for coaching, for being very involved on the Austin Academy side of things. Even though he's just been here as of this season, I don't know that I have seen that level of involvement from any Austin FC player, much less the captains of previous years.
And just seeing him greeting everybody, security people, and it's just he's
him putting his Open Cup final medal around the neck of a supporter and encouraging people during one of the deepest emotional depths of his and everybody else on the team's careers. Like this is in that moment showing that level of resilience. That's something special. And that's the kind of thing that really does etch itself into legend when it comes to the growing legend, to borrow the trademarked phrase.
We got a good one here. Yeah. So anything else we want to say about San Jose other than please don't hurt us and
not really.
Hope both teams have fun? again, the kind of attitudes that we were seeing going into that LAFC match is that Austin is still going to try to treat this like a playoff game, but for San Jose, it absolutely is a playoff game. So there's that difference, I think, that comes in there. I mean, I think it's good to have that kind of mindset and to try to think of it as, okay, let's knock these guys out. Let's make sure that they do not hang around the playoffs and that Austin probably would not face them, but why do that? Again, why have Austin, San Jose in the playoffs this year if you can avoid it? And weird things can happen, certainly. So
I guess a related thing that I'd mention is Diego Rubio's very recent, as of this recording, appearance on Vamos Verde before we get into presumably talking about some of the playoff math stuff that we collaborated on and we're talking about needing to do some version of and getting into all that. Some really interesting takeaways to me from that conversation. One of the things that was just accepted as a plan or an intention was that Diego wanted to go back to Chile and retire at his boyhood club, and his plans have changed. He wants to bring home hardware for Austin in some capacity, not even just specifying being a field player. That kind of dedication. One of the things that I noticed and that for me was a highlight of last season, in a season that, let's be honest, did not have a lot of highlights, was seeing the way that Diego Rubio so enthusiastically embraced the club, embraced the community, embraced the city. And really, the dude's got 4 kids in a happy family and everything. And you don't change the arc of the last chapters of your career for no good reason. And the way that he has really bought into the project, bought into this brotherhood of men that he is part of at the club. I think it's really wonderful knowing, hearing it direct from him rather than just assuming that that's the plan. And like, he's so good on the mic. I know that he said that he wants to go into coaching and doesn't have any interest in commentary, and I think that's a much better fit for him overall. But him talking about how Josh and Roto literally like sat him down and were like, "You've got to stop pulling so many yellow cards, dude. Like, you've got to. We get you hate refs, but figure out a way around it." And the way that we have seen that evolution in him as a player who could just keep playing the hits, the way that we've seen him make himself something of a heat sink, where he knows the refs are going to be keeping their eyes on him because he knows what his reputation is, but making sure that he stays on that side of the behavior fence so that he can draw that attention and other people can get away with other stuff. That to me has been the magic of watching him this season, where it's not that he's producing a lot of goals and a lot of assists. It's that looking at the team as one big unit and it being all about team play, as he mentioned to us couple matches previous. That to me is one of the things that I love most seeing for a player who I have liked for so long on so many other teams. And then just for pure enjoyment factor, him mentioning that he thinks that Svatak, Dessler, and Buka are like the real trio bromance of the team. I think that's wonderful because those guys, they have this like soft-spoken, absolute beast player thing to them where they are unassuming and calm and gentlemanly unless you get on their bad side. And then you're going to get danced over by Buka, or you're going to get stood over by Svati, or Dessler is going to dig deep and leave you in the dirt. But the funniest thing, though, to me, the funniest thing by far that I could not have possibly expected was him saying that he thinks Djordjevic is in the absolute best shape of anybody on the squad and that you don't want to see that guy on arm day. That to me has me going, wow, I can't wait to see what Matea does next season after he's had yet more time to fold himself in. The way that he's gotten up to speed has been really, truly impressive.
Yeah, once he gets a full preseason under his belt. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But I just getting that kind of candor from Diego is a great thing. We haven't talked to him as much recently, and he always delivers, even when we have to wait a while to hear back from him.
Yeah. His play on the field, I mean, as a 9.5, he has not been out there a ton, but when he's been there, the offense seems to have been more cohesive with him. And again, I was a little surprised. I didn't think he would contribute as much as he has this year. And it maybe doesn't necessarily show up in the stat sheet, but I think it certainly shows up in terms of what he's able to do to elevate other people's games around him.
Yeah, I think those uncanny, intangible moments, that's what I've really enjoyed seeing from both him and Ilie this year, where it isn't necessarily goals and assists. It isn't necessarily other stats that people use to track. Is this player worth it? Is this player not worth it? But the kind of locker room cohesion that they have helped by what their teammates themselves have said. to a man during some difficult times. That is something that you do not see in many MLS teams that have had those kinds of slumps, that have had those kinds of moments of adversity this year. I just think it's really special. I love the overall story that we have ended up with this season.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, he's at 937 minutes right now. I don't know that he necessarily plays or starts, or what's his status again? Is he questionable? Is he out?
He is out. He's listed as out for this weekend.
Definitively out. Okay.
Definitively
so he's
out.
gonna so he's gonna finish under 1,000 minutes this year. And the last time he did that in MLS was 2018 with Kansas City, only logging 781 minutes that year. But he's been consistently at least above 1,000 pretty much every other year of his career since then. And only 5 goal contributions. But again, yeah, it doesn't show up in the stat sheets necessarily. But when he's out there, when he's cohesive, when he's doing stuff, the pass before the pass, a lot of that kind of action has happened with him this year. And that's been really, really good to see.
So do we want to talk about those 81 scenarios and why we poured over everything, Phil?
Okay, we do need an update. We do have a situation. Your Blue Jays have guys on first and second with
yes, we do.
No outs, in part because of an intentional walk.
We do.
So
we do. And
I don't like any of this.
Right.
Moment.
I mean, look, I am wearing a baseball cap blessed by Stan Lee, which I'll talk about on the upcoming theoretical bonus episode of the show.
Okay. And I'm just wearing a Kraken hat right now.
Yeah, just wearing a Kraken hat.
Because it's the first Seattle hat I could find.
We're playing the each team only knows how to win in the opposing stadium series, which is maybe statistically unfortunate for my team, but we'll see how it goes. So 81 scenarios, Phil. Why do we want to run the numbers on this kind of thing? Why do we want to do this kind of deep dive? We could have just had AI write the whole newsletter for us, Phil. We could. We could.
Well, AI can't count as well as Chase Hoffman using Python, as it turns out. So thanks to Chase for doing those numbers.
Yes.
And yeah, we want to see. And of course, it is 81 different scenarios because there are 4 teams in the top 4. They are not playing each other. They are all playing different teams.
FC Dallas is playing in Vancouver. San Diego is playing Portland.
LA's playing Colorado. Colorado is ostensibly still in the running for the playoffs. And then Minnesota, of course, is playing.
Minnesota's playing LA Galaxy in Carson. So to give, and this is in the piece for those who TLDR this stuff, the thing that started immediately getting passed around and people started feeding various GPTs and LLMs was going, oh, what's the probability of this opponent, that opponent? And looking at just the raw number of possible scenarios, out of those 81, 45 result in LAFC being third. 21 result in San Diego and Minnesota end up third in 15. So that's 55% of the scenarios, it's LAFC. 45% of them, it's San Diego or Minnesota. And that's just the proportion of the number of scenarios. That isn't about likelihood. That isn't about taking into account who different people are playing. That's just based on the way that the different matches can play out. And one of the things that our friends over at We Are Austin posted was that playoffstatus.com had broken out the probabilities as it's 44% possible that it'll be LAFC, 30% San Diego, 27% Minnesota United. So if you look at it that way, 57% likelihood that it is a team that is not LAFC.
Right.
44%
by the way,
chance that it is.
Yeah. By the way, Vancouver can do no worse than second, which is why they're not figuring into this discussion. So they can either be first or second. And I believe all they need to do is get a result in order to if they get a result, they're on.
If they get a result, nobody can catch them. Right. So in breaking out the different scenarios, there were a few things I was texting you as I was finalizing the draft. Some of the things that surprised me is that if there's a gigantic amount that actually revolves around Vancouver, even though Vancouver can't figure in third, their results do affect the various scenarios that result in these 3 teams ending up third. And so I think that
plus they get to knock Dallas out.
Precisely. Like the number one with a bullet thing is, how do we actually expect these results to play out? And I think that like your take on the will it be LAFC thing is very reasonable. So put it in the piece, but give us a little bit of thought as to why you think that it is one of those very specific scenarios that involve win-win-win.
And again, so yeah, so there are 4 teams involved. There are 3 possible results: win, draw, or loss, since none of the teams play each other. So 3 to the 4th power is 81, which is where we get that number. And one of the first scenarios right out of the gate that we had was simply, and again, there's 3 permutations of this, but Vancouver wins, San Diego wins, LA wins. Regardless of what Minnesota does in that situation,
Literally
does not matter. Vancouver wins the league, San Diego second, LAFC third. And to me, Vancouver beating Dallas, San Diego beating Portland, and LAFC beating Colorado all seem very likely to me. I know it's MLS, it's decision day, weird things happen. Colorado's going to be desperate. They're going to be at home against LAFC. Weird things can happen there. But again, Sun and Bwanga are involved, we think. So that's going to be interesting, right? That's definitely going to be a thing that we are going to need to factor in. We're definitely going to want to look at that game because, of course, Colorado could still be in the playoffs. But if LAFC is doing what we think they're going to do, then I think they are going to end up in third. But you have some kind of other thoughts about what might be happening.
The thing that immediately jumped out to me, looking at the different columns of things, was for San Diego to end up third, they have to just, no matter what, they have to not win. They can draw or lose. But the only scenarios that result in San Diego being third involve Portland beating them in Portland. And I think that's entirely possible, or drawing against them in Portland. I think Portland is one of the strongest home field advantage teams in the league, not just the West, in the league. So that's why I feel like the San Diego outcome is maybe a little bit more likely than people assume that it is. And the other part of it is, how bad does Minnesota want to stay out of the 4-5 game against Seattle? I don't see them parking when it comes to playing LA Galaxy in Carson. LA Galaxy, who are already safe from the spoon, but for Minnesota to end up third, they have to win no matter what. And forgetting our Austin-centric perspective on things, Minnesota feels like they've got to win no matter what because they want to stay out of 4th place. They do not want to play Seattle. Minnesota losing Yeboah, having really a fully depleted attack. You don't want to play even a depleted Seattle in the first round, like no matter what. So I feel like,
by that logic, you want to play Austin rather than Seattle.
Exactly.
Which is kind of where we're at right now, right?
Which to me,
I mean, Seattle is a deep team. Seattle has experience. It makes sense that you would want to avoid Seattle in that situation.
It feels to me like all 4 of the top 4 teams are going to be playing to win. And I think that one of the things that a lot of people might assume is looking at Dallas missing their 3 most important attacking pieces in Musa, Farrington, and Ramiro. All 3
because
of them,
cards.
due to cards. Losing all 3 of them, people are like, even with them, Vancouver at home finale after taking home the Canadian Championship, hey,
with a chance to win the West.
With a chance to win the West. You gotta be screwing with me, bud. No way from A to Z that's going to happen. Okay. But what about Sam Sarver? To me, Sam Sarver is an X factor for Dallas. He's been an absolute beast on their next pro side for North Texas. And he has been coming in clutch like a young golden retriever who doesn't get distracted too often, that has that kind of Sam Surridge level goal scoring proficiency. Like, that kid sees the opportunity, he goes for the Hattie and he gets it. Sure, next pro, leagues away from the top flight. Sure, whatever.
There is that.
Yeah,
there
sure.
is
there is that. But Austin-centric folks know something about people doubting certain things. And at the end of the day, you score more goals, guess what? You win. Vancouver knows that they are in the playoffs no matter what. Does Sorensen end up going, okay, fine, let these jerks win? You know, let them draw and just cycle out some of the guys that he knows he needs to conserve. Maybe that happens. Decision day in MLS, something crazy always happens. Something crazy. Maybe it'll happen in the East.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
It feels like some unexpected thing has to happen in one of those 4 matches. Has to. It just has to. That's where I'm coming from. But I think,
which is why we listed all 81. Which you can access at Verde all day, by
Right.
the way. So you can follow along. You can see instantly. You can know
Literally.
before many other people based
Right.
on
It's
what we calculated, what
it
has
is
happened.
it is all right there where you can go, oh, looks like it's scenario 47. Looks like 53 is coming up close. On the one hand, I kind of hate this sort of thing, but I love the way that the West is played out, where it is this kind of weird thing. And I think it's hilarious that the East was locked before the weekend prior to decision day. That was honestly the surprise I don't think I saw coming at the beginning of the season, was that one of the two conferences would be already locked in with teams that are jockeying for 1 point here, 2 points there, just to get above this slot or that slot so they don't have to play Miami or Nashville or whoever it is.
Yeah. And again, in the East, you probably want to watch that Nashville Miami game, because not only is there the golden boot on the line, which Messi is probably going to win, even though Serge is involved in that game, but I think he's too far back to catch, unless Serge scores 4 goals and Messi scores none, which I don't see happening. But Nashville has a chance also to drop into the play-in match, where they would host a whole lot of yellow and a whole lot of Austin doesn't really like these teams kind of match against Columbus. Nashville against Columbus as a play-in game would be wild.
Would be utterly wild, considering how good of seasons they have both had,
how good their coaches are.
The one thing you got to love for Austin fans is being able to look at something as a team absolutely no one any day kind of thing, where you just hope everybody has a terrible time, and it's very violent and very unpleasant. You mentioned other things for people to watch. We also mentioned this at the bottom of the article. I thought that the one intra-conference match between NYCFC in NYC against the Sounders is, I mean, it's directly interesting for Austin is in the West playoffs. Let's see what happens with Seattle. Let's see who gets played. Let's see how they rest and how hard they go against NYC, who really do need to win this and really need to pick up those points.
Speaking of weird fields.
Right. Baseball fields. But we've left the best for last, though, Phil. And I don't want this to come off as like delighting in the unfortunate table position of others, but a decision day wooden spoon duel, the wooden spoon bowl between Atlanta United in Atlanta versus DC United, which will be disunited by the end of the night. And the thing that I teased in the article that I wanted to mention here is that for a while, I have presupposed that should Josh Wolf be head coach of another MLS team sometime in the near future, I think that it's either Atlanta United or DC United, with it being more likely that it's DC, because even though recent arrival of coaches and that kind of thing being what it is, these are both teams that, in the case of DC, Josh played for them. Atlanta, he's a Georgia boy. Looking at them being the dueling spoons sets them at a place where there is this fawning article from ESPN about what a genius Greg Berhalter has been at Chicago Fire. And it's like, things were not great for Chicago. That feels like you're giving him a gigantic amount of praise. Like he single-handedly just waved a magic wand. He did have some luck in terms of things that were changing on the sporting side of things. It feels to me like both Atlanta and DC are projects that could use some rehabilitation. And in a conversation I had on Background with someone deeply involved in the league, what they mused on was, at DC, what expectations could there be? Whether from the fans, you have friends who have given up season tickets after many, many years of having them. I know plenty of people who have followed DC United for a long time. That is a place that, I mean, nowhere to go but up. And if they believe in the kind of philosophy that Josh would bring to that organization, and that organization is looking to rebuild in a way that's complementary to that, you know what? In the interest of gentlemanliness, as we've said, that's our standard on Jays versus Mariners Game 5 day. I hope everybody is happy and has a good time and has an opportunity for growth. And I think that both of those places, DC more than Atlanta, could actually be really good for a coach that I think does have something to offer. And I think his time at Austin is something that definitely informed his thinking about a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, DC did name Renee Weiler head coach in July, but he didn't get here for a few months. And like, they got a new sporting director now. And I would also say don't rule out Kansas City. Like Kansas City
Yeah.
has an interim right now. That could be a possibility that they would. He's pretty well regarded there, I think. And that seems in a way like kind of a Kansas City move. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Josh Wolf gets a head coaching job back in the league within that time frame. But it's certainly possible. We still see, but again, in Atlanta, yeah, like you were saying, he's got roots there. They got to figure out something. Certainly, they're having a much more difficult season than they thought they were going to. Who knows how long DC sticks with Weiler before they decide to blow it up. I mean, Melberg in St. Louis, as I think we've mentioned before, he got 15 games and they decided, nope,
Yeah.
this isn't going to work. So who knows? I
Who
mean,
knows?
DC's a mess right now.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting decision day. Multi-view is your friend if you're watching from home. But you know what, Phil?
Mm-hmm.
There's always an alternative to watching from home. And there's a sterling, glorious, wonderful thing that fans of Austin have come to expect. And that's that on decision day, they know the place to be is Hop Squad. Hop Squad, also home to Kramer's, wonderful mezcal-focused cocktail bar in the same building. Los Verdes is throwing a watch party on decision day starting at 6:30, kickoff time's 8. It's family friendly. It's dog friendly. There's free parking in the lot next door. They're going to have 2 indoor screens showing the match. Los Verdes is going to be set up selling merch. If you've been needing to replace one of those Clack fans, LV is going to be set up with those. Vibe ATX is going to be there. La Morga is performing.
Vibe ATX.
Vibe ATX, your guess is as good as mine because even though I'm usually really good at reading the notes in advance, I just know, you know what I know right now, Phil? They're going to be there and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a party like you've never seen before. You want to know why? Because everybody's going to be fueled by the magnificent Yucatan Tacos, who were previously over at the Sunoco station, were one of the great anchors of the incredible Sunoco station food truck park. They're now right there.
I was sad when they left.
Well,
I was so sad when they left.
Their owner, Marisol, just a wonderful, wonderful lady who has been getting up to speed and getting to know a bunch of these folks. It's just, it's a wonderful vibe, a wonderful feeling of things.
Marisol Migas, maybe the best taco in Austin. It's up there.
Oh, absolutely. And I was joking about Vibe ATX. What Vibe ATX does is their mission is surrounding empowering underrepresented artists. So it's all about inclusivity. It's all about pushing the performing arts through education, collaboration, and diverse performance opportunities in Austin, which is something that there are ways to see things from, I guess you would say, a less diverse, less vivid lens in Austin, sure. But one of the things that I've loved about this city, even before I lived here, is that to me is the beating heart of this city. It's one of the things that is the beating heart of supporters culture, and working with Vibe ATX is a great thing to have at this event. And also there's going to be a kid collecting donations of soccer related accessories to give to kids without. So if you've got cleats to donate, if you've got balls to donate, that sort of thing, bring them out. And our pal Peter, aka Labradog from LV, is going to be manning the table with this young scout looking to do some good in the broader soccer world. So it's going to be a party and a half. If you get there earlier, look, the East games will be on, I'm sure. So if you want to make it a whole party day, come out to Hop Squad, drink responsibly, get the Uber, get the Waymo if you need it, and otherwise reach out if you need help. You'll have a lot of friends that are looking out for each other and wanting to make sure that everybody has a good old time at our favorite haunt. Phil, are you going to be
Sounds
there?
great. Yeah. I don't think so, because post-match press conference.
Right.
I wanna,
Same for me.
I'm gonna probably multi-screen at home. So
I was just looking
probably
for
gonna watch and
for one more regular season time, Phil. How far from your house is it?
It's about 20.
About 20.
So not 8 minutes. I kind of wish on some game days that it was 8 minutes from the house, but sometimes it's nice to have that little bit of decompression. It is longer if I do the bike train thing, which I have done a couple times this season, which has actually been wonderful. Credit to Austin FC for doing the bike valet. That's been awesome to have. And usually I'm the last one that shows up because I'm doing media stuff, and then I come back. Sorry guys, that's me. I let them know ahead of time. Hey, I'm gonna be a while. So just sorry, like watch some Instagram reels or something, do whatever you have to do. But yeah, no, it's been great. And yeah, I mean, the train gets me about like 15-minute bike ride from my house. So yeah, depending on how I do it, it is not the 8-minute drive that some of the other watch parties have been, but it's Austin. It's close, unless of course if it's something down south, forget it. I love some South Austin haunts, but there's something about crossing the river. Like I'll do it, but there's kind of a barrier. There's something kind of like mental. It's not, it's not quite, a wall, but it's more than just driving across a bridge, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't.
All right. Well,
I know
look,
some South people feel the same way about North. So we love all parts of Austin. I'll hasten to say.
What are we running for the House of Representatives? We love all parts of Austin.
Maybe.
We love all neighborhoods equally. Next week, we don't have a game to talk about, but presumably there will be. Here's what the playoffs
I think we will
look.
have a game to talk about.
Oh, we will have a game. Yes, we will have a game to talk about.
First round of the playoffs will start next week, so we will know our opponent. We will get into playoff talk.
We
get to actually talk about the playoffs being involved in it.
I was more alluding to the fact that we may not have that weekend playoff match to talk about because it may be on a Monday.
Oh, it might be Monday or something.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. I am eager and dreading the playoff schedule that's going to come out, because I do feel like there are going to be some weekday matches maybe in our future.
I know for a fact that we will have something to talk about that will have already happened, because the club announced that they're going to throw a party at the Mohawk 6:30 to 10 p.m. on Wednesday, the 22nd. Players will be there. There will be drinks and music and all kinds of fun. La Murga is going to play a set. It feels the spiritual cousin to the preseason event downtown, where people chatted up the sporting director and various luminaries from the club are around. I think that's really smart for the club to keep investing in these kinds of activities, whether the match is allowed to happen on the weekend or if it has to happen on Monday, getting people psyched up, getting their energy going. There are conversations out there about a potential first round TIFO happening regardless of who the opponent is. So things might be in very heavy overdrive mode, but there are a lot of opportunities out there. And if you're listening to this and looking for something to do, I'm sure that posts will be going around on social media, letting people know about what's going on in the mad dash to round one.
Okay. Yeah. And you know what else we're going to know by Wednesday?
What, Phil?
Which one of our teams is going to be in the World Series?
Yeah, man. First time since 93. Come on.
Never been to the World Series. Started in 77, never been to the World Series ever.
Some traditions are worth upholding, Phil. That's
no.
That's I mean, I'm not saying it has to. I'm just saying maybe it does. Maybe tradition wins out.
And by the way, you'll know what happened at the end, but here's where we're at right now as we're signing off. So the Mariners did get out of a bases loaded 0-out jam. They have not been so lucky this inning. It is 1-1. The game is tied. Of course it is. It's going to be this kind of series. I think it's going to go, I don't want to say it's going to go extra innings in the last game like the last time the Mariners did, but it's kind of feeling like that kind of series. I don't know.
It's highly possible. So yeah, sometime soon, expect a soccer podcast to do a bonus episode about baseball.
And we will still remain friends, regardless.
I promise.
Me too.
Okay.
But we've never been to the World Series.
You've
had one.
But we haven't been since I was in elementary school.
This is the best thing I've heard in the history of the 8 years I've been on this planet.